If you're a solo agent, I once was for a long time, closing deals, basically doing your own thing, putting your head down, working hard, making good money. You're probably making, 200-300, maybe even 500 grand a year GCI, but you're exhausted and your family's mad at you. You walk away during every dinner, during vacations, your laptop's on your lap and you're constantly working all the time. And you just feel capped still because you feel like the more business that you do, you don't really make more money, you just get more and more tired. This video is for you. If this is like landing, you're like, oh my gosh, this is me. Like you're emotionally exhausted and drained and you're feeling like that burned out feeling where you just need to escape. And every once in a while you're like, I quit. So this is for you then. I'm Alicia Soikawa. I am principal broker of Virginia for 5 Realty. I opened the state of. I also have a team, The Collaborative, brokered by 5 Realty. Used to be a boutique brokerage that I folded. And it's a newer rev share company. I just was giving you a background of who I am. I actually am in production. I coach for Tom Ferry. I'm a speaker. So I do a lot of different things in the business and I'm a mother of 3. So all the different things, and I've been in the business over a decade. Here's the truth. And this video is something because I wanted to reach out to those of you that put your head down, you work really hard. You're either working or with your family. And even then you feel like you're just more working and maybe 1% with your family. There's no time for yourself or hobbies or doing anything fun really. If this lands with you, because I think it does land with a lot of agents, because you don't even have time to go out and hang out with other agents or learn from other agents because you're just working. You're not stuck because you're lazy or you're unskilled or you're not doing something right. You're stuck because you're looking at scaling a job. You're looking at this as a job instead of a business, and you're working as an operator versus an owner. And this is something over time and all the different business coaching I've received and studied and applied and taken away and also lived it many, many times over in different businesses. It's so clear that it's a pattern that keeps happening over and over and over. And if you're caught up, it's like you're the chokehold. They say you're the one that's doing this to your own business because you're not allowing it to scale like it needs to. And today I want to break down why. What's going on probably in your brain, in your nervous system, in your cortisol levels, what's actually happening and what you need to do to change, what needs to change if you really want to leverage and grow your income and have more sanity and really have the life that you say that you want to have as an agent, as a business owner. So basically we're talking about, there is something called the solo agent trap. I think there was this whole movement for people to scale and, add members, add team members, keep doing all these things, but I don't think anybody really explained to a lot of agents how to lead and how to manage and how to grow for profit. And that's a dirty word in real estate, profit. We always shout out GCI meaning gross commission earned, gross commission income, which then it doesn't account for the percentage that you're going to give to your broker. If you're in a traditional brokerage, whatever that split is typically doesn't cap. If you're in a revenue share company, it does cap. Some other companies cap, meaning you pay to a certain amount and then you're at 100%, but then there's multiple fees that come out each month or in each transaction. So it still is a percentage, you just don't see it. And it's important to know because if you do 100 deals, even though you don't have a huge split, if you're paying so much every deal, you actually end up paying more than some of these other companies that have a lesser percentage. It's pretty crazy. And it's really important to think about this. So if you're following the solo agent trap and you think you want it to grow, but you're just like, forget it, team's not for me. I don't want to scale. I just want to do my own thing. I want to be responsible for me. I've been there. I know that feeling. You want to hustle. You want to say yes to everything. That's basically how solo agents start. I remember being in that wheelhouse of thinking when I first got into business, I was like, I can do this 24 hours a day. I can answer calls at night. I don't care, because I was so hungry and so thirsty, I guess is the word, because I say thirst trap, thirsty to do this business. And as a real estate agent, I thought to myself, I can't afford to say no to anything. So I'm going to do everything. I'm going to get all the experience and I'm going to prove to everybody I'm the person. And so by thinking about that, I was like moving, hustle. I remember the hustle culture was so glorified for the longest time. Doing all the tasks, handling every client personally, going to every single thing, every single appointment, every single walkthrough myself. And it was awesome until it didn't work anymore. There was a capacity, we all have 24 hours in this day, the same. And what was giving was I was doing paperwork at night, probably after the kids went to bed, because when my kids were really young is when I got into the business. And I remember doing my letters and note cards, and I would be doing all of my paperwork at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2 in the morning. I would sleep a couple hours, 2, 3, 4 hours, and I would get up and I would do some more paperwork and then move things around. And of course, there were probably mistakes because I'm not that great at it, and it probably took me 10 times longer. And unfortunately, I gained a lot of weight. I wasn't very healthy and I was tired and cranky. but I was doing it. I mean, I think I even showed a house once at midnight, and I'm not proud about that, but I'm just sharing that I've been there. At a certain point, your calendar will become your ceiling because you are one person. Right? We always talk about that. You can't do everything. You can't be everything to everyone. And I tell several of my coaching clients, when you keep saying yes to something, you are saying no to something. You just don't understand it until later on when you see it. I said no to that. I didn't mean to. So that's something to think about. You know, when you're thinking about, is this you? Scaling does require a shift. It's not more effort. It's more thinking about, is this my highest and best use of time? At a certain point, like more leads are not going to fix it because it's just going to be more work. It's just going to be more business for you to handle. More hours won't fix it because you're taking hours from something, whether it's your sleep, whether it's time with your family, whether it's time that you were going to be working out or doing something for yourself. And more caffeine is not a good idea. As we all know, it makes you jittery and it's not good for you. So the 3 shifts, and looking at if you're that person, in order to scale, to go from producer, or I call it operator, like you're like cranking everything, to go from operator to owner is going to be like, you cannot scale. You have to get yourself out of the mentality of you seeing yourself as the product. So if you're seeing yourself as the product, because right now you are the marketer, you're the salesperson, you're the transaction coordinator, and even if you have a transaction coordinator helping you, that's a little bit better. At least you have that. I have that. It's a wonderful thing to be able to give a transaction to someone that's great at it and pay them a small fee at closing, and they take care of all those things. Or you can ask them. It just saves you so much time and gives you time back. But some people are not doing that because like, I don't do enough deals to pay for that. Customer service department, a business owner, you're designing results that produce results without you having to be there. So that's what a business owner is. Everything relies on you. So if you're not there, nothing works. Nothing happens. And so the first scaling question isn't how do I get more clients? It's going to be what has to stop requiring you. It's a different question. Instead of saying I need more clients, I need more clients, I need more business, you need to ask the question, what must stop requiring me? Kind of a big question. So that's shift 1, going from that to owner. Shift 2 is going to be going from activity to output. Most solo agents are going to be tracking this. And we always talk about track and measuring. Something we coach to in Tom Ferry is looking at your data, because what you track, you can grow. What you track and measure, you can grow. So you track calls made, connections made, doors knocked, if you're door knocking, and that's not as common, or posts made, or content created, or hours worked, or you're going to be like, I did this many deals, or I wrote this many contracts, or this is my goal for this month. Closings per input. Instead, you have to think closings per input. How many closings am I getting for the work that I'm doing versus that? You have to think about lead sources that are actually converting versus sucking all your energy. You have to think about how much time am I spending per transaction, and then it makes sense to hire that transaction coordinator. And then also, if you think about leads, that sources that convert in time per transaction, like how can you change that mentality and thought process for yourself, right? And you think about profit per deal, right? You don't scale effort, you have to scale what works. That's really, really, really important. And that requires honesty, a lot of honesty with yourself. And so that's something to think about, like, are you really able to answer those questions or not? Are you sitting there going, yeah, but I did all of this and that's why I'm growing? So you have to think about what are the outputs that I'm making? So you're thinking more of a business strategy point versus that. Next thing also is shift 3 is going from control to leverage. So control feels safe, right? It feels safe. It feels like you own it. I got everything. We're good to go. But if everything runs through you, like if everything has to go through you, even from like, I saw this great Instagram. It said like, if you're picking out the colors and this and the design and the type of envelope, if everything has to go through you, then you don't have a business, you have a bottleneck. Like you're the bottleneck of the business being able to grow because nobody has any autonomy to make things work. So leverage doesn't mean lowering standards. It means like documenting them. Right? You have to document your standards. And if someone else can do 80% as good as you, this is like 80% done by somebody else and not by you is 100% better, is the saying, right? So you really shouldn't be doing it because there's no such thing as perfect anyways. And you probably don't realize the mistakes you're making doing something that you're not that great at. And that's a hard thing to remember and think about because a lot of people think that they're great at all the things you're probably not, or it takes you 10 times longer. And so if you think about your time and what your time's worth, if you're a $500 an hour person and you're doing something that's really worth worth $20 an hour kind of makes you go, I probably shouldn't be doing that, right? If you think about that in that light. So think about this, like, why do most agents fail at scaling? This is what I've seen in my years of being a coach and seeing agents across the country and in Canada. They hire too early, like they're just not ready for it because they're not even in charge of them. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others, is what they say. Guilty. I'm guilty of that. I've messed it up. They hire too emotionally, like, oh, we're friends and it's gonna be so fun. Like, or they hire someone just like themselves to do something and it's just not gonna work. They add people without systems, without any accountability or checklist or process for them to understand what their job and roles are and how they can support them. They're just kind of winging it, like, all right, go do your job. And they have no idea what they're doing. They don't know their numbers. I can't tell you how many times that we've talked to agents and they literally don't know anything about their P&L sheets, profit and loss, how many of their expenses, how much does it cost to run their business, how much does each deal cost them, and how much are they making profitability. Like, all of those numbers you need to know as a business owner. Like, you need to know what your numbers are. And if you don't know, then take a minute. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Always something that you need to think about. We're always growing and getting better. If you don't know, just admit it. I don't know. There was a point in my business that I really didn't know until I sat down and looked at every single thing of what does it cost for me to run my life? What does it cost to run my business? Where do I want to be at? And what are the numbers I want to be? Because if you don't really have an accountability of really what's going on, a snapshot, you cannot go anywhere. Like, how do you know where you're going to go if you don't know where you are to start with? So that's a really, really big thing. They mistake busyness, busy with the Y, busyness with growth. So they think just because they're running around doing stuff all the time and they're booked, that is equivalent to growth, right? That's really a dangerous zone for them. They build teams to escape discomfort instead of creating structure. So basically they just don't want to have any conversations that are difficult. So they just create these teams and their production's paying for the brokerage. I'm guilty of that. I've done that. I've had that experience where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually losing money running this business. And that's not the goal. We're now a nonprofit, right? So scaling doesn't remove pressure. You have to understand that business is problems. That's why we're in business. We're here to solve problems and offer solutions. Otherwise, there would be no business. And remember, if you have no problems, you're dead, because life is about solutions and problem solving and compromise and going through the, finding ways to figure things out. I mean, some of the best inventions are created because there was a problem and then someone thought, wow, let's make a solution to it. I think about the Post-it note, how amazing that is, right? If you don't like leadership, scaling will certainly expose that fast, because it's going to show you people say they want to be leaders, but they don't really want to be leaders. That's what's fascinating to me. Okay, so it doesn't always mean big fancy office. I think a lot of people get like, ooh, I don't want to scale. It sounds scary. I don't want to have all these people. It doesn't mean tons and tons of people working for you. It doesn't mean a brand overnight. It doesn't mean all those things. It just means sometimes like one admin, one support person, somebody taking over some duties that you shouldn't be doing, outsourcing certain things, like even just Instacart instead of you running around picking things up, right? Or having maybe someone drop you up, taking an Uber to some of your appointments instead of you driving so you can get work done on the way there. That gives you leverage. It gives you time to work on something. One documented process. You have a buyer process, a seller process. You have an understanding of how to walk your client through something, a negotiation process, how to reward your clients for referral process, all that kind of stuff. A predictable lead source. I've lived off of referral business and how I have a documented plan of how I handle my past clients, my sphere of influence, and what I do regularly. And it kind of falls into place like a puzzle, but I've been doing this for over a decade, going on 12 years now. So I think that's why it took a little while to get my groove going. So if you're newer in the business, don't compare that to someone that's been doing it 20 years. And if you've been doing it 20 years and you didn't have that, you can always start over. You can always begin again. That's what's so great about business and life. There's no reason why you can't start something new and start fresh, like go back to the basics is what they say. One protected day off. I pray for people to have a protected day off. You can move it somewhere. I mean, even site agents that work for builders get 2 days off and they literally cannot be reached. They do not care. And it's so important to protect it because everybody deserves a day off. And you can move it around. You could say this month my days off are going to be Mondays. This next month my days off are going to be Saturdays. Or every other week I'm going to have a half a day on Sunday and a half a day on Friday. You can do that. But you get to decide that. That's the whole point of being in your business for yourself. So those are some things that you definitely do. And the goal isn't to look successful impossible to build something. It's to build something sustainable that doesn't exhaust you at the end of the day, right? And so if you're a solo agent who's grinding and you're like, holy crap, I don't know if I can do this again for a year because I'm exhausted, but you want a smarter path, not a louder one, you could probably end up doing more business. Or even if you did the same business, you're gonna have a better quality of life. Doesn't that sound great? This channel is for you. That's why I'm calling it Agent Empowered. And that's what this is all about. It's really for you people pushing, wanting going to the next level. And you're like, why is my thermostat just staying the same every year? Why am I doing the same 30 deals every year, 40 deals every year? And it's a lot, it's great, but you're just not getting to that next level and you don't know what it is that you're doing, or you're just more tired and the idea of doing double makes you more tired. Then this channel is for you. I would love a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, a comment below on where you're at. If you are a solo agent, what is the best year you made? What's the number of deals you've done? And if you have any of those things in place, like an admin, a protected day off, a one document process, I'm curious like kind of where you are in the business. And if you're curious about coaching with Tom Ferry, let me know. I can send you over to the people to sign that up for introductory coaching call on that as well. Something to think about. 2 books that I love that I've read and I always get my coaching clients to read are Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. He actually has some great examples, so get the hardback on this if you get it. It's excellent. And then, of course, Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Blake Erickson has The Science of Scaling. This one is the most recent one, and I loved it so much. Also, great to get in the book because there's some great diagrams and things to kind of give that visual explanation of what he's trying to explain when you're going to scale. I hope you want to scale, meaning scale your life and not being exhausted doing all the things that you're doing. Until next time, stay empowered. See you soon.